Maw of Mischief Elementalist is a top-tier early boss farming character. Automatically summon your golem with Elementalist's Liege of the Primordial and force their quick and untimely demise with Death Wish, causing huge ignite explosions to spread across all of your foes. This build is great for people who want to have no issues with single target on their league starter, and those looking to farm bosses, invitations, or do boss carries early on in the league. This build has some of the cheapest damage in the game, since you only need a 4-linked helmet for your main damage links. It has respectable mapping thanks to its ignite proliferating and ignite spreading mechanics, and has enough baseline defense to maintain a pleasant playstyle. We use Death Wish as our main clearing ability. Channeling for short bursts causes random minions to explode, with longer casts choosing more minions and dealing more damage, up to 13 stacks and minions. To ensure a quick clear speed, obtain a Jorgen Unveiled modifier to trigger level 10 Summon Spectral Wolf on kill. Since waiting for golems to respawn would take too long between packs, you'll summon a wolf pack on kill, which you'll sacrifice throughout the map to maintain your speed. These wolves have similar HP to the Herald of Purity minions we used last league, but don't require a 25% reservation, which frees us up for Tempest Shield, giving us free shock immunity and 25 spell block, which is huge. We'll buff up our igniting explosions with a combination of flammability and elemental weakness curses. Flame Surge to create a burning ground under our enemy based on our ignite damage, and by using a Blessinged Malevolence to boost our damage over time even further. We also scale this build through obtaining minion damage and the use of Spiritual Aid on the passive tree or through the Scourge Claw. And since our explosion scales off of minion HP, we'll also boost our Stone Golem's HP as high as we can through gem levels and minion life. Elementalist is the only Ascendancy playable on this build because we rely on the high HP base that Stone Golem has, and resummoning them without Elementalist's Liege of the Primordial's automatic 4-second resummon would be much too tiresome to play as a build. Luckily, Elementalist also provides great ignite damage through Shaper of Flames and solves our early ignite chance needs while leveling the build. We also pick up Mastermind of Discord to further shred our enemies' resistances when applying exposure. And lastly, Heart of Destruction provides a massive AoE boost, which helps us spread our ignites through the whole pack and ensures our minions' sacrifices are not in vain. Since this build requires many uniques and a leveled up character to put together, you'll have to level with an Ignite Wave of Conviction setup until you make the swap. If you need extra assistance with leveling or swapping, I have a full Maxroll article detailing everything step by step, what you need to purchase, when exactly to swap, so check that out down below if you believe you need that extra help. Or if you just want a hand-holding step-by-step progression guide that tells you how to craft your gear and what nodes to choose when you need to choose them. As with most witches, we'll start with Freezing Pulse into Holy Flame Totem and Flame Wall, swapping out to Orb of Storms and Wave of Conviction in Act 2. Since Elementalist can ignite with any damage source once we get our first Labyrinth done, we'll take advantage of Lightning's great early damage and options to ignite with a lightning-based Wave of Conviction. Once we hit Act 6, we'll be fully Ignite spec'd and we'll swap Ignite gems out and we'll drop Orb of Storms. Some great early pickups once you reach maps are an Obliteration Wand, which gives your Wave of Conviction much more clear speed by giving you an explosion which can also ignite thanks to Elementalist's Shaper of Flames. You'll also want to obtain a 5-link Cloak of Flame to boost your survival, and a pair of Vol Caress, which you'll socket with Vol Flame Blast, so that you may boost your single target damage even further once you start pushing the map tiers. Eventually, you'll want to pick up a Barracks Respite, which will spread your shock and ignite to nearby enemies, giving another huge boost in clear speed. 2 extra early pickups are the Careful Planning and Efficient Training Jewels to help solve your build's early on strength and dexterity problems, freeing up your gear for resistances and suppression. Maw of Mischief is a unique helmet providing the unique ability called Death Wish. This ability is a channel in which every stage up to 13 chooses extra minions and gives extra damage per minion, at which point, when the channeling is completed or interrupted, all of the chosen minions will violently explode. This explosion is scaled off of minion HP, so we'll scale our damage by mainly using Stone Golem and summoning additional minions like Summon Skeletons to get our stacks up to the max of 13 on big bosses. We'll boost our Stone Golem HP by putting it into a Magna Eclipse or Invictus Solaris, which both provide +2 to socketed gems. We'll then link Stone Golem to the minion life support and a level 1 Empower, eventually getting more Empower levels when you can afford more. The +2 socketed gems, though, will still boost your Empower even if it is level 1, so it's still worth it if that's all you can afford. We'll further boost our damage through the use of the Scourge Claw, which allows minion damage to also affect us at 150% value, and gives us some additional minion attack speed, which will also have affect us through the passive tree node Spiritual Command, which makes our clearing much more comfortable with having extra cast speed for our channel stacks and summons, and extra attack speed for our shield charge. Your mapping involves simply shield charging into monster packs and pressing Convocate to pull your minions to you. Then, you simply right-click Death Wish to cause an explosion, your Ignite proliferates, and the pack explodes and dies. On the next pack, you'll have to travel far enough to cause your minions to snap to you from being off-screen, since they were so far away, or you can summon your skeletons and tap your channel again. On tanky rares or map bosses, you'll want to cast your Arcanist Brand to apply both Curses and Flame Surge, and you'll summon skeletons up to the max, channeling Death Wish as much as is comfortable, and let that explosion rip and tear your enemies to shreds. Later on in the endgame version of the build, when you're doing these big pinnacle bosses, you'll also take advantage of the passive tree node called Defiled Forces, which refreshes the duration of Ignite, Chill, and Shock on enemies you curse. This allows you to have a full pre-stack on the boss, making sure you have as much damage as possible by pressing every one of your buttons and having the maximum amount of minions, and you simply will reapply a curse to refresh the Ignite duration, maintaining that maximum damage stack on the boss. This makes it extremely easy to down these pinnacle bosses by simply having one big cast and refreshing that Ignite duration multiple times until the boss is done. The Wave of Conviction setup scales its defenses through the use of Suppression, Cloak of Flame, and through armor and evasion rating from Determination and Grace. Once you've made the Maw of Mischief swap, you'll still have Suppression, Determ, and Grace, but on top of that, you'll add your Stone Golem HP regen, a little bit of recoup, and life on kill, alongside some physical damage reduction from your Chaos Golem, which will randomly be up while mapping, since sometimes it'll be dead, sometimes it'll be up. It's not extremely reliable, but it'll still be there. Your early game gearing is fairly simple. Obtain an Obliteration Wand. Get some fire damage and a suppression craft on your shield, some suppression and a Corel's physical taken as fire unveil on your helmet, a Cloak of Flame for your body armor, Vol Caress to put Vol Flame Blast in for your single target setup, some suppression, Onslaught on Kill on your boots, Thought Multi Amulet with a Suppression Anoint, and an Unset Ring and Barracks Respite. For your belt, you'll want just Resistances and Life. Make sure to roll your flasks as soon as possible into the league, as they're the cheapest way to obtain additional speed and defenses. We'll use a Quicksilver, Granite, and Jade Flask rolled with reduced effective curses, armor, and evasion rating. We also use 2 life flasks to make sure you're never left without life recovery, but one of these can be replaced with a quartz flask if you desire. The Maw Swap is where you finally get to play the real deal. You'll swap once you obtain a level 21 Stone Golem, the Maw of Mischief helmet, an Invictus Solaris shield to put your Stone Golem into, and the Scourge Claw to further boost your damage of speed. You'll also need to obtain the Jorgen Summon Spectral Wolf Unveil, or to get that from a friend or random person in the game, if you don't have that already, and a Barracks Respite to boost your clear. You'll want a Suppression Body Armor with Resistance and Life, and an open prefix to craft the Gravicious Body Armor, physical taken as fire and lightning damage craft. Also make sure you obtain the Determination and the Aura Infect Implicits. Our gloves will be suppression, resistance, life, and the fire, exposure, and dot multi eldritch implicits. On your boots, you'll want the critical strike enchant to ensure optimal uptime of elemental overload. You'll want suppression, resistance, and the onslaught on killcraft alongside the scorched ground eldritch implicit that should be rolled with greater eldritch currency so that you also have the option of the while in presence of unique enemies scorched ground, which lasts just a little bit longer. For your amulet, you'll just need dot multi, resistance, life, the Jorgen unveiled craft, and the entrench anointment to help cap suppression and keep your life flasks full. For your belt, you'll want a Stygian Vice with some resistance and life, combined with a minion damage and minion life abyss jewel to socket into it. Drop a life flask from the Wave of Conviction setup and pick up a quartz flask now to assist in the suppression cap and smooth your clear out through phasing. Make sure to obtain a careful planning and efficient training jewel to help solve your stat needs if you didn't in the Wave of Conviction setup already. Otherwise, you'll need many stat rolls on your gear, which is going to make the resistance and suppression needs much, much tighter. The endgame setup is more of the same from the Maw Swap, but with much tighter resistance and suppression rolls, requiring you to craft on fractured bases with resistance essences and obtaining life with a craft, eldritch crafting currency, or veiled chaos. At this point, we'll focus on obtaining chaos resistance, capping suppression, and squeezing extra damage mods out on gear where possible. Obtain extra damage through Awaken Unbound Ailments, Swift Affliction, Deadly Ailments, and Burning damage, while purchasing an Empower 3 for the Stone Golem setup in your shield. We'll use a large cluster jewel to obtain an extra jewel socket alongside the powerful Primordial Bond node, and to open access up for a small suppression cluster to non-conditionally have 100% suppression chance. We'll also use Energized Armor to obtain a massive 50,000 armor on a witch build, ensuring our physical mitigation is as comfortable as possible. On a Watcher's Eye, I recommend you obtain Evade Chance while affected by Grace to ensure you don't get hit by many attacks at all, or a Physical Damage Reduction while affected by Determination. That's it for the guide. I hope you all have a great league start, and if you need additional help, my Discord is a great place to get your questions answered or to get assistance with your builds. Otherwise, just follow the Maxroll articles, the milestone sections, and you should be cruising through the endgame. Please sub so I can have a bigger number and therefore be a better person. Anyways, thank you. Bye.